Hello. Welcome to episode number 80 of Bicycle Touring Talk. I am George Schlacek.
The one and only.
Bicycle touring is one of my passions. It inevitably means adventure time, along with the feeling of freedom that I haven't experienced any other way. I created this series to share the stories and experiences, hoping that it will inspire someone out there to use their bicycle for travel. This video is part of the series about my Coast to Coast Canada tour. The entire series can be found in the playlist Bicycle Tour, Canada, Coast to Coast. This episode starts on Wednesday, June 28, 2017, on the eastern edge of Portage la Prairie in Manitoba, where I had found a free camping spot just before dark. As is typical with stealth camping, I was off to an early start. For the first time in a while, my tent was completely dry when I took it down, making the departure quick and easy. I stopped a short distance up the road to make use of a picnic table at the visitor center. That also included a museum. There was a 1950s fire truck parked in the front and an old-style village for people to visit. Too bad it was so early because it was all closed. After a quick breakfast of sandwiches and peanuts, I hit the road east. There were some nasty clouds on the horizon, but I was hopeful they wouldn't catch up with me. I was making really good time on the shoulder of the Trans-Canada Highway, and at first it seemed like I might get lucky enough to stay dry all the way to Winnipeg. But no such luck. The rain started, and I got wet. There was barely enough time to put on the rain jacket before it got really heavy. No escaping it. When I was thoroughly drenched, I saw a gas station with a Tim Hortons on the left side of the highway. Since highways are built for cars and trucks, it was quite an ordeal to cross that. But I was glad that I did, because the rain got even heavier. I had a coffee and a muffin, and so did pretty much everyone else, all at the same time, so it seemed. There were some motorbikers sharing their getting wet stories. I was the odd one out traveling by bicycle. I was intent on booking a room in Winnipeg as soon as possible. But as it turned out, this particular Tim Hortons was not equipped with Wi-Fi. I simply waited until the rain subsided and resumed my ride toward the city. So it looks like I successfully outwaited the heavy rain. I'm about 30 kilometers away from Winnipeg and I'm gonna hit the road now. And I think that's all I'm gonna do for today. The closer I got to Winnipeg, the worse the traffic became. After roughly 2 hours of riding, I was within Winnipeg city limits where I found a Walmart with McDonald's restaurant. Winnipeg is a big city. I was overdue for some relaxation in a dry place, so I was using the Wi-Fi at the restaurant to search for such a place. As a regular camper, I'm not that fussy about hotel rooms, so I booked the cheapest one I could find on Hotwire. It was called the Capri Motel and located on the south side of town. The ride there was quite an adventure in this city with aging car infrastructure, with a few bike lanes and paths thrown in here and there. Riding a bicycle across Winnipeg is not without risks. Eventually, I arrived at the hotel and after checking in, made myself comfortable. When I plugged in my phone, I realized that it had gone haywire and wanted to be initialized all over again. That kept me busy till supper time. Hungry as I was, the best option was a nearby Chinese restaurant. I had a huge bowl of chow mein. After supper, I walked quite a distance to a Safeway store to stock up on food. When I returned to the room, I pigged out on trail mix and watched TV. On occasion, a hotel room is definitely a nice treat on any bicycle tour, but more so when you've been riding in the rain. Eventually, I just passed out. Compared to the time I usually get up when camping, I slept in at the hotel. 10 o'clock rolled around and I wasn't done packing. All of a sudden, the 11 a.m. checkout time seemed awful close. When I hit the road just in time, I noticed that my front tire was way too soft again. Another flat. First for Manitoba, I threw in the spare tube after thoroughly inspecting the tire. There was a very tiny piece of wire or something hard embedded in the rubber that was tough to get out. Nothing was visible on the outside of the tire. While I was fixing that tire, a lady who was riding her bike stopped and offered to take me to a nearby bike shop where her son worked to get me a new tube or maybe a tire. I thought that was really kind, but I was basically done swapping the tube, so I thanked her and told her I was going to be fine. Then I decided to visit that store anyways. My spare tube was riddled with patches and I figured it was time to replace it. I also bought a brand new spare tire just in case. Maybe I would need it on my long trek across Western Ontario where replacement tires would be few and far between. My front tire was the one I didn't trust because of the way I had been digging in it to find and remove that piece of wire. Then it was time to navigate across the city again. Did I mention Winnipeg was a real challenge? Bike lanes and trails are few. Most of the ride was in traffic and very stressful. I stopped again for lunch at a McDonald's and then did some shopping for supplies, like methyl hydrate for my stove. Yeah, I've had a bunch of delays, but finally I'm good to go. Had lunch and everything. Had a problem with the tire again. It was a big relief to reach the Trans-Canada Highway again. So I'm just out of Winnipeg, back on the highway here. Yeah, highway is straightforward. The city is a pain in the butt, let me tell you. Winnipeg's horrible for cycling. While highway shoulders aren't pretty, the ride was now smooth and easy. I soon reached some signs that told me that I was at the longitudinal center of Canada. So looky where I'm at. It's called the longitudinal center of Canada, so that means I'm halfway through my tour. There's a little bird up there. So it's perhaps worth noting that here at the halfway point I have 3,827 kilometers on my clicker. Theoretically, this meant that I had just completed the first half of my tour and was entering the eastern part of the country. According to my odometer, this would mean the total distance from coast to coast would be less than 8,000 kilometers. What do you think? Did that add up in the end? I really had no idea how far I would go that day, but the weather was good, with sunshine and a light tailwind. I only stopped for sandwiches as an early supper close to 5 o'clock. After I resumed my ride, conditions remained ideal for a while. until some dark clouds showed up on the horizon. I was now in Sandyland Forest. There wouldn't be any services for quite some time. The inevitable happened and it started to rain. First ever so light, but suddenly getting heavy. Where was I gonna go? When I spotted an opening in the very wide median of the highway, I decided to pull in and seek shelter between the trees. I stood there for a while until the rain let up. After inspecting the area, I found a perfect spot to set up the tent. My clothes were thoroughly drenched and I had to change everything down to my underwear. It was a challenge to get the tent up and dry inside. But I did okay. I went to sleep early. Stealth camping in the median of the Trans-Canada Highway, smack in the middle of the country. How much better can it get? Well, there was very little of Manitoba left to cover. In the next episode, I'll tell you all about the crossing into Ontario and the way my Canada Day, July 1st, turned out that year. It sure wasn't what I had imagined. Hope you'll join me again. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button. You can find other videos in this series in the playlist on the screen. See you again soon.